Hi guys, this is Dr. Tim here with Optimized Wellness Center. We're going to talk about ozone and how to use ozone as a medical therapy to assist you to live a better life. So maybe you already are familiar with the fact that ozone is an alternative version of oxygen. Oxygen is O2, whereas by contrast, ozone is O3. But this is a very volatile compound, and so it's something that reacts very differently than oxygen would. And also, this is very different than the air we breathe, which actually only has around 12 to 20 or so percent of oxygen in the air. The rest of it is mainly nitrogen. Now, before we get any further, I have to give credit where credit is due. So there are many learned practitioners who have led the path ahead of me, and I need to make sure to recognize some of these individuals that have shared their knowledge, and I'm going to be able to impart some of this on you, or do my best to do so. Some of those are Dr. Paula, and she is actually a naturopathic doctor and provided a lot of really great resources and educational information, as well as Dr. O, and then also Dr. Frank Schallensberger, and as well as Ed McCabe. And he's written a number of books here that are really helpful in guiding some of this pathway. So, ozone. Ozone is O3 and completely different than oxygen, or O2, as we mentioned earlier. It's very energetic and oxidative in how it works and functions, and which makes it very valuable for many of the applications that we can utilize for air purification, as well as water purification and medical applications as well. Ozone can be very irritating to the lungs, especially in higher concentrations if we breathe it for long periods of time. So you definitely don't want to do that without taking some precautions, and we're going to get to that in a moment here. Ozone is an amazing therapeutic modality that has about 3,300 times stronger than chlorine and without the toxic side effects. It is a natural way of neutralizing negative charges on foreign cells, such as bacteria and viruses and other yeast and parasites, not to mention abnormal cells like cancer cells. If ozone can be administered and reach the effective areas, then it can have these therapeutic effects, which we're going to talk about today. All of this is done without ever damaging your normal cells, and it's the healthy cells and safer than antibiotics. The administration of medical ozone has a very long safety history. Ozone therapies have been around since the 1890s with the advent, or with Nikola Tesla. Now, of course, this is different than the Tesla cars that we're thinking of today, but it was Nikola Tesla who was one of the founding fathers of utilizing ozone. Yet, in the early 1900s, it fell out of favor with antibiotics coming on to the forefront. Although what we know today is, most recently, antibiotics have been overused, and they have led to what's called as superbugs, where there really are no medical treatments for these superbugs, and they become a real hassle and a problem for the medical community to be able to deal with and address. Dr. Bacci has performed over 3,400 treatments of ozone, and Dr. Bacci has utilized these treatments to help many of those individuals. There was one paper that looked at over 5.5 million different administrations of ozone therapy, and the incidence of accidents was around 0.0007%, or only 39 accidents in absolute numbers. This has a safety margin that is much greater than even aspirin. Dr. Schallenberger describes the biooxidative effects in therapeutically applied ozone on the humans. And some of those include stimulating the production of white blood cells, which are necessary for fighting infections, increasing the delivery of oxygen from the blood to the cells, increasing red blood cell membrane distensibility, and this deals with like the flexibility as well as the effectiveness of those cells. Also, he talked about the biooxidative therapies increasing the production of something called interferon and tumor necrosis factor, or TNF, which, when used in the body, fights infections and cancers. And so that is really important for many individuals who are plagued with these kinds of things. It also talked about the increased efficacy of antioxidant enzyme systems, which are the scavengers, and they address the excesses of free radicals in the body. And we know that these excesses of free radicals is one of the origins of many diseases and ailments that humans are plagued with. He also talked about the biooxidative therapies increasing tissue oxygenation and enhancing ATP. This is the unit of energy which is generated within every cell, and thus increasing the patient's improvements in health outcomes. That's a long and really beautiful and wonderful list of ways that it can be utilized. So there's some important points to know about ozone. Ozone is directly drawn to inflammation and infections. Ozone does not discriminate when attacking the pathogenic forms and kills bacteria, fungi, and viruses at lower concentrations than chlorine. 1 molecule of ozone is the equivalent of 3,000 or 10,000 molecules of chlorine and kills 3,500 times faster. Ozone therapies influences the production of nitric oxide. And this nitric oxide is a biologic messenger, which is utilized in the body as a way of communicating all these healthy benefits. So we can use ozone in a variety of ways, addressing infections, bacterial, fungal, parasitic, as well as viral infections, dealing with upper respiratory conditions in the sinuses, ears, as well as the nasal cavity, throats, dental issues, Lyme disease, shingles, and even coronavirus. It can improve circulation as well as improving our immunity. So what are the effects of ozone? Ozone can affect and enhance the oxygenation of tissues. And what we know is one of the common threads of many ailments and diseases that we as humans are plagued with is a diminishment of access to oxygen into those tissues. And those tissues begin to fail. It kills the bacteria and viruses in the blood as well as in the tissues. It upregulates our immune system. It improves the circulation all the way down into the peripheral microcirculation into the distal ends of our tissues. It balances energetic and cellular functions, creating what's called a cellular homeostasis. It protects our cardiovascular system. It increases the metabolism of cholesterol. It reduces tissue pain. It promotes anti-inflammatory effects. It creates basic anti-infection properties. It stimulates the production of white blood cells, and it improves rheology. This is the flow of blood within our bloodstreams. So there are a variety of mechanisms by which we can utilize medical grade ozone. I'm going to create a few additional videos to be able to describe those separately. But today I just wanted to make sure to review some of the health benefits of ozone. Guys, this is Dr. Tim with Optimized Wellness Center. Check out the other videos on utilizing ozone. I'll look forward to catching you there.